The phone buzzed at 12:17 a.m., and I knew my marriage was over. Not because of what the text said, but because of what it didn't say. After 15 years with Lila, I could read between her carefully crafted lies like an insurance investigator reading a fraudulent claim. And brother, this one stank worse than a 3-week-old fish. Staying at Monica's for the weekend. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. Right. The woman who hadn't touched me in 6 months, who flinched when I kissed her goodbye, who spent more time texting than talking to me. She loved me. Sure she did. I sat in my recliner, the blue glow of the TV casting shadows across our living room in Millbrook, Maine. Our cozy Victorian house suddenly felt like a mausoleum. The creaky floorboards upstairs, the drafty windows, the basement workshop where I'd spent countless hours fixing things that couldn't be fixed. Like our marriage. My name's Evan Masters, and I'm what you'd call unremarkable. 42 years old, thinning brown hair, average height, soft around the middle from too many desk lunches at Masters Insurance Agency. The kind of guy people forget they've met, which, as it turns out, can be quite an advantage. I stared at that text for a long time. Monica Peterson, Lila's college friend, the one with the fake laugh and the designer handbag she couldn't afford. They'd been reconnecting lately, ever since Monica moved back to town last spring. Lots of girls' nights, wine tastings, weekend trips to Portland. Funny thing about being an insurance investigator for 20 years, you develop a nose for bullshit, and this smelled like a landfill in August. I scrolled through our recent conversations. Her responses had gotten shorter, more distant. Working late again. Out with the girls. Don't wait up. Always don't wait up. Like she was trying to erase me from her life one text at a time. But it was the way she'd been acting lately that really sealed it. The new clothes, the expensive perfume, the sudden interest in yoga classes that ran suspiciously late. And then there was her phone, clutched like a lifeline, face down on every surface, password protected tighter than Fort Knox. I got up and walked to the kitchen, poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon. The good stuff. The bottle we'd been saving for our anniversary next month. Seemed like the perfect time to crack it open. The house felt different without her. Quieter, but also somehow more honest. No pretending, no walking on eggshells, no wondering what fresh lie was coming next. Just me and the truth, finally meeting face to face. I pulled out my laptop and opened Facebook. Monica's page loaded, and there she was, posting photos from some wine bar in Portland with her husband Paul. Posted 2 hours ago. Timestamp, 10:23 p.m. Interesting. So if Monica was in Portland with Paul, where exactly was my loving wife spending her weekend? I took another sip of bourbon and started digging. 20 years of investigating insurance fraud teaches you things. Like how to find the truth when people don't want you to find it. Like how to follow digital breadcrumbs. Like how to spot the lies people tell themselves are invisible. Lila's Instagram showed nothing recent, but her location services were still on. We'd shared locations years ago for safety, back when she actually cared if I made it home alive. She'd probably forgotten about it. The little blue dot pulsed steadily from Seaside Drive, the expensive part of town where the real estate developers and trust fund babies lived in their glass houses overlooking the Atlantic. Definitely not Monica's neighborhood. I zoomed in. The address made my blood run cold. 47 Seaside Drive. Derek Quimby's house. Derek fucking Quimby. Lila's high school sweetheart, the golden boy who'd dumped her senior year to chase some college cheerleader. The same Derek who'd made a fortune in real estate development, married some socialite from Boston, and recently moved back to town like some conquering hero. The same Derek whose name Lila had whispered in her sleep 3 weeks ago. I'd chalked it up to stress, maybe some old anxiety about the high school reunion coming up. But now, staring at that pulsing blue dot, everything clicked into place. The late nights, the new clothes, the sudden interest in looking good again. She wasn't having a midlife crisis. She was having an affair. I closed the laptop and finished my bourbon. The burn felt good, cleansing almost, like it was washing away 15 years of being the reliable husband, the steady provider, the guy who fixed the leaky faucets and remembered to take out the trash, the guy who was apparently so boring that his wife had to go digging up her teenage fantasies to feel alive again. Well, if Lila wanted excitement, she was about to get more than she bargained for. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the number I needed. Frank Morrison, Frankie to his friends, owned Morrison Construction and had been my best friend since college. More importantly, he had a talent for creative problem solving and a flexible relationship with conventional morality. The phone rang twice before his gravelly voice answered. Ev? Jesus, it's almost 1 a.m. Someone better be dead. Not yet, I said, but the night's still young. You busy tomorrow? Depends. We talking about work, or we talking about the kind of work that requires alibis? I smiled for the first time in months. Let's start with surveillance and see where it goes from there. Frankie chuckled. Now you're talking my language. What's the target? My cheating wife and her high school boyfriend. About fucking time. I'll pick you up at 8. I hung up and headed upstairs to our bedroom. Our bed, where Lila had been making excuses and turning away for months, where she'd been lying next to me while dreaming about another man. I opened her dresser drawer and found what I was looking for, her old jewelry box, the one from college. Hidden underneath the velvet lining was a folded piece of paper. A love letter from Derek, dated 25 years ago. She'd kept it all this time. You're the only one who really understands me, it read in Derek's teenage scrawl. Someday we'll have everything we ever dreamed of. I refolded the letter and put it back. Evidence for later. Then I went to her laptop, sitting closed on her nightstand. Lila had always been predictable with passwords, important dates, pet names, that sort of thing. I tried our anniversary. Wrong. My birthday wrong. Her birthday wrong. Then I tried Quimby 1999, the year they graduated high school. Bingo. Her email opened like a digital diary of betrayal. Months of messages, starting innocent enough. So great to see you at the reunion committee meeting. We should catch up sometime. Remember when we used to talk for hours? Then they got bolder. I think about you sometimes. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we'd stayed together? I miss the way you used to make me laugh. And finally, recent ones that made my stomach turn. Can't wait to see you again. Tell me you want this too. I'm going to leave him. I just need time to figure out how. I'm going to leave him. There it was, in black and white. Not just an affair, an exit strategy. She wasn't just cheating on me, she was planning to abandon me. Probably take half of everything I'd worked for and ride off into the sunset with her high school fantasy. I scrolled through more emails, taking screenshots of the most damning ones. There were photos, too. Selfies of them together at coffee shops, restaurants, even one taken in what looked like a hotel room. Lila looked happier in those photos than she had in years with me. The final email was from yesterday. Evan thinks I'm staying at Monica's this weekend. We'll have the whole time to ourselves. I can't wait to wake up next to you. I closed the laptop and sat on the edge of our bed. The bed where I'd slept alone for months while my wife planned her escape. The bed where I'd listened to her fake sleep while she texted her lover. But here's the thing about being underestimated your whole life. People don't see you coming. They think the quiet guy, the steady guy, the boring insurance man doesn't have teeth. They're about to find out how wrong they are. I walked back downstairs to my home office and pulled out a yellow legal pad. At the top, I wrote, Operation Cleanup, and started making lists. Assets, accounts, evidence, witnesses. Everything I'd need to not just end this marriage, but to make sure Lila regretted ever thinking she could play me for a fool. By 3 a.m., I had a plan. By sunrise, I'd have help. And by the time Lila came home Monday with her fake stories and crocodile tears, I'd have everything I needed to destroy her little fantasy world. She wanted to leave me? Fine. But she was going to leave with nothing but the clothes on her back and the shame on her face. I poured one more bourbon and raised the glass in a mock toast to the empty house. Here's to new beginnings, sweetheart. Hope yours is everything you deserve. Saturday morning came gray and drizzly, typical October weather for coastal Maine. I was up before dawn, sitting at my kitchen table with coffee and a notebook, refining my strategy. Frankie's truck rumbled into my driveway at exactly 8 a.m. Frank Morrison looked like what you'd get if you crossed a lumberjack with a philosophy professor, 6'4", broad shoulders, graying beard, and eyes that missed nothing. He'd built half the houses in Millbrook and torn down the other half. More importantly, he'd been through his own messy divorce 5 years ago and had no illusions about the sanctity of marriage. "You look like shit," he said, settling his bulk into my kitchen chair. "But you also look like a man with a plan. I like that combination." I slid the printed emails across the table. "Read these. Tell me what you think." Frankie's expression darkened as he scanned the pages. "Jesus Christ, Ev. How long has this been going on?" "Based on the emails? About 4 months. But I think it started at the reunion committee meeting back in spring. They've been building up to this weekend." "And she's there now? At his place?" I showed him the location on my phone. "Unless she moved in the last 8 hours." Frankie cracked his knuckles. "So what's the play? We going to kick down his door? Catch them in the act?" "Nothing that dramatic. Yet. First, we gather evidence. Photos, timestamps, witnesses. I want documentation of everything. Then we start applying pressure." "What kind of pressure?" I smiled. "The legal kind, the financial kind, the social kind. Derek Quimby thinks he's untouchable because he's got money and connections. But money doesn't protect you from being exposed as a homewrecker. And connections don't help when the whole town knows you're screwing another man's wife." We drove to Seaside Drive in Frankie's truck, parking across the street from Derek's house. It was one of those modern glass monstrosities that looked like a spaceship had crashed into a furniture showroom. All clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows. No soul, no character, just expensive emptiness. Perfect for Derek. Lila's Honda was in the driveway, parked next to Derek's BMW like they belonged together. "There's your proof," Frankie said, snapping photos with a telephoto lens. "Timestamp shows 8:47 a.m., not exactly an innocent coffee date." We waited and watched. At 10:23, Derek emerged in a bathrobe to get the newspaper. At 10:31, Lila appeared at the kitchen window, wearing what looked like one of his shirts. She was smiling, laughing at something. She looked radiant. It was like watching my marriage die in real time. "You okay?" Frankie asked. "I'm fine, just taking notes for the divorce attorney." At 11:15, they both came out, dressed casually, getting into Derek's BMW, probably heading out for brunch, playing house like a real couple. "Follow them?" Frankie asked. "No need. I've seen enough. Let's go have a conversation with some mutual friends." Our first stop was Peterson's Hardware, where Monica's husband Paul worked weekends. Paul was a nervous, twitchy guy who'd always seemed intimidated by his wife's social ambitions, the kind of man who went along to get along. "Hey, Paul," I said, browsing the paint section. "How was Monica's girls' night last night? Lila seemed really excited about it." Paul looked confused. "Girls' night? Monica was with me in Portland yesterday. We went to that new wine bar she's been wanting to try." "Really? That's strange. Lila said she was staying over at your place." Paul's face went pale. What? "No, Monica was home with me all night. We watched movies until midnight." I could see the wheels turning in his head. He was realizing his wife had been lying too, covering for Lila's affair, making him an unwitting accomplice. "Paul, I think we need to have a longer conversation. How about coffee Monday morning? Just us guys." He nodded, looking sick. Yeah, I think we better." Next stop was the Anchor's End, Millbrook's unofficial gossip central. Maddie Sullivan had been tending bar there for 15 years and knew everyone's business before they knew it themselves. "Ev, what brings you out on a Saturday afternoon? Where's the missus?" "Girls' weekend," I said, ordering a beer. "You know how it is." Maddie's eyes lit up with interest. "Oh, really? With who?" "Monica Peterson, supposedly. Though I just talked to Paul and he seemed confused about that." Maddie leaned closer. "Honey, Monica was in here Thursday night, drunk as a skunk, bragging about how she was covering for some friend's affair. Didn't mention names, but she was real proud of herself for being such a good wing woman." "Interesting. Anyone else hear that?" "Half the bar. You know how Monica gets when she's had a few drinks. Can't keep her mouth shut to save her life." I finished my beer and left a generous tip. "Thanks, Maddie. You've been very helpful." By evening, Frankie and I had built a solid case. Photos of Lila's car at Derek's house, witness statements from Paul and others, a timeline that contradicted every lie she'd told me. But I wasn't done yet. Sunday morning, I drove to Derek's house alone. Lila's car was still there, and I could see them through the kitchen window, sharing breakfast like newlyweds. She was feeding him strawberries, actually feeding him, like some romantic movie cliché. I took more photos, then made a phone call to Derek's office number. His voicemail picked up, and I left a message in my most professional insurance investigator voice. "Mr. Quimby, this is Evan Masters from Masters Insurance. I'm calling regarding some irregularities in a claim involving your property. Please call me back Monday morning to discuss. This is a time-sensitive matter." Then I called my lawyer, Janet Morrison, Frankie's ex-wife, ironically enough, but the best divorce attorney in 3 counties. "Evan, this is unexpected. Please tell me you're not calling about a claim." "Different kind of claim, Janet. I need to file for divorce, and I want to take my wife for everything she's worth." "What's the situation?" I gave her the condensed version, the affair, the lies, the evidence I'd gathered. "How do you want to play this?" she asked. "Maximum damage. I want her to lose everything. The house, the car, her reputation, her friends, her job if possible. I want Derek Quimby to regret the day he decided to mess with another man's marriage." "That's going to be expensive." "I've got money saved, money she doesn't know about. Money I've been putting away for our retirement that's now going toward her destruction." Janet was quiet for a moment. "Evan, I've known you for years. You're not a vindictive man. Are you sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life. She made her choice. Now she gets to live with the consequences." "All right. Come in first thing Monday morning. Bring everything you've got." Sunday evening, I sat in my empty house, preparing for Lila's return. I'd spent the weekend documenting her betrayal, building my case, and planning her downfall. But I'd also spent it grieving the end of my marriage, the death of 15 years of shared history. Tomorrow, she'd come home with her lies and her fake remorse. She'd probably shower immediately, trying to wash off the evidence of her weekend with Derek. She'd tell me about her wonderful time with Monica, maybe even show me some fake photos they'd staged. But I'd be ready for her, with evidence, with lawyers, with a plan that would turn her life upside down. She wanted excitement. She was about to get more excitement than she could handle. My phone buzzed with a text from her. "Missing you. Can't wait to see you tomorrow." I stared at the message for a long time, marveling at her ability to lie so effortlessly. Then I typed back, "Missing you too. We need to talk when you get home." Let her wonder what that meant. Let her spend her last night with Derek worrying about what I might know. Because tomorrow, the games would begin. Monday morning arrived with the kind of crisp October clarity that makes everything look sharp and unforgiving. I was up at 5, showered, dressed in my best suit, the charcoal gray one I wore to important client meetings. Today, I was meeting the most important client of my life, myself. Lila's Honda pulled into our driveway at 8:47 a.m. I watched from the kitchen window as she sat in the car for a full 2 minutes, checking her appearance in the rearview mirror, practicing her story. She looked nervous, which was smart of her. She came through the front door with an armload of shopping bags, props for her performance. "Honey, I'm home," she called out in that artificially bright voice she used when she was lying. "You wouldn't believe the weekend Monica and I had. We hit every outlet store between here and Portland." I walked into the living room, coffee mug in hand, and studied my wife. She'd changed clothes since yesterday, now wearing jeans and a sweater I'd never seen before. Her hair was different too, styled in a way that made her look younger. Derek's influence, no doubt. "Good weekend?" I asked mildly. "Oh, you know how it is with Monica. She's exhausting, but in a good way. We talked until 3 in the morning both nights. I feel like I learned so much about myself." "I bet you did. Learn anything interesting?" Something flickered in her eyes, uncertainty, maybe fear. "Just girl talk, you know. Nothing you'd find interesting." She moved toward me like she was going to kiss me, but I stepped back. "Actually, I think I'd find it very interesting. Why don't you tell me about it?" "Evan, what's wrong? You're acting strange." I set down my coffee mug and pulled out my phone. "Let me show you something interesting I learned this weekend." I opened the photo gallery and turned the screen toward her. The first image was her car in Derek's driveway, timestamp clearly visible. The color drained from her face. "I can explain. Can you? Because I'd love to hear how you explain being at Derek Quimby's house when you told me you were staying at Monica's." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Were you following me? Does it matter how I know? The question is, how long have you been lying to me?" She tried to rally, putting on her hurt and indignant face. "I wasn't lying, I mean, not exactly. Monica was supposed to come with me, but she canceled last minute, and Derek just offered his guest room." "Stop." The word came out harder than I intended. "Just stop. I've read the emails, Lila, all of them. I know about the affair. I know you're planning to leave me. I know everything." She collapsed onto the couch like someone had cut her strings. "Oh God. Oh God, Evan, I'm so sorry. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been screwing your high school boyfriend for months while lying to my face every single day." Tears started flowing. Real ones this time, not the crocodile tears she'd been preparing. "I never meant for this to happen. It started so innocently. We were just talking about old times and then you decided to destroy our marriage for a teenage fantasy. It's not a fantasy. Derek and I have a real connection. We understand each other in a way that you and I never—" She stopped, realizing what she was saying. "Never what? Never had? You're right about that. I never understood how you could look me in the eye every morning and lie. I never understood how you could sleep next to me while planning to abandon me. I never understood how you could be so fucking selfish." She flinched at the profanity. I rarely swore, and never at her. "Evan, please, we can work through this. I'll end it with Derek. We can go to counseling." "No." I pulled out a manila envelope from the kitchen counter. "We can't work through this, because I'm done working. I've been doing all the work in this marriage for years while you checked out emotionally and started shopping for my replacement." I handed her the envelope. "Divorce papers. You're being served." Her hands shook as she opened it. "Evan, you can't be serious. 15 years of marriage, and you're just going to throw it away?" "I'm not throwing anything away. You already did that. I'm just cleaning up the mess." She scanned the papers, her face getting paler with each page. "You're asking for everything. The house, the cars, my retirement account. Community property laws work both ways, sweetheart. You want to start a new life with Derek? You can start from scratch." This is vindictive. This isn't like you. "You're right. The old me would have tried to save our marriage. The old me would have blamed himself and begged you to stay. But the old me didn't know his wife was a lying, cheating whore." She slapped me, hard enough to leave a mark. I didn't flinch. Feel better? Because that's the last time you'll ever touch me." The fight went out of her then. She slumped back onto the couch, sobbing. "What about our friends? Our life here? You're going to ruin everything." "Our friends already know. Paul Peterson figured out Monica was lying for you. Maddie heard Monica bragging about being your wingwoman. Half the town saw Derek's car at the wine bar with you last week when you told me you were working late." Her sobs got louder. "You've been investigating me like some criminal." "No, I investigated you like an insurance fraud case, which, when you think about it, is exactly what this is. You've been defrauding me of 15 years of honest marriage." My phone rang. Janet Morrison's office. "Excuse me," I said. "I need to take this." "Mr. Masters, this is Janet's assistant. She wanted me to let you know that the papers have been filed with the court. Also, Mr. Quimby's office called. Apparently he received your message and wants to discuss the insurance matter." "Perfect. Tell Janet I'll be in at 10 for our meeting, and tell Mr. Quimby I'll call him back this afternoon." I hung up and looked at Lila, who was staring at me like she'd never seen me before. "Who was that?" she asked. "My lawyer. And apparently Derek wants to chat about an insurance matter. Funny thing, when you start digging into someone's life, you find all sorts of interesting information. Did you know your boyfriend has some questionable claims in his past? Nothing proven, but enough to warrant a closer look." "You can't do this. You can't destroy his business because you're mad at me." "Watch me." She stood up, anger replacing despair. "Fine, you want to play hardball? Derek has lawyers too, good ones, and he has money. Real money, not your little insurance agency money." "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact. You think you can intimidate us, but you're just a small-town nobody who sells car insurance. Derek builds empires." I smiled, really smiled, for the first time since this conversation started. "You know what I love about empires, Lila? They're built on foundations, and foundations can be undermined." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means your boyfriend is about to learn that money doesn't protect you from the truth. And the truth is, he's a homewrecker who preys on married women. That's not a good look for someone who depends on community reputation for business." She grabbed her purse and the shopping bags. "I'm leaving. I'll stay at Derek's until this gets sorted out." "You do that. But remember, those divorce papers aren't a negotiation. They're a notification. You made your choice. Now live with it." She paused at the door. "I did love you, Evan. Once." "No, you didn't. You loved the security I provided. You loved having someone to pay the bills while you figured out what you really wanted, but you never loved me." "That's not true." "Then why did you keep Derek's love letter from high school, hidden in your jewelry box all these years?" Her face went white again. "You went through my things?" "I went through our things, in our house, that I paid for." I walked to the window and looked out at our neighborhood, the tree-lined streets, the well-maintained houses, the life we'd built together. You know what the saddest part is? If you'd just asked for a divorce 6 months ago, I probably would have been reasonable. We could have split things fairly, stayed friends, maybe even figured out how to be happy apart. And now? I turned back to her. Now you're going to lose everything. Your marriage, your home, your reputation, your friends. And Derek? He's going to realize that small-town nobody insurance agents can be very creative when they're motivated. She left without another word, tires squealing as she backed out of the driveway. I stood in my empty house, truly empty now, and felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. The pretending was over. The lies were exposed. The games had begun, and I intended to win. By Tuesday morning, word of the divorce had spread through Millbrook like wildfire. Small towns are like that. Secrets have a half-life of about 24 hours before they become public knowledge. I was at my office by 7 a.m., catching up on actual work before the phone started ringing. Master's insurance agency wasn't much to look at. A converted house on Main Street with outdated furniture and a coffee maker that belonged in a museum. But it had been my father's business before mine, and it was profitable enough to fund my new hobby, destroying my ex-wife's life. The first call came at 8:15, Derek Quimby sounding nervous. "Mr. Masters, I got your message about an insurance irregularity. I'm not sure what you're referring to." "Mr. Quimby, thank you for calling back. I'm reviewing some claims from your various properties over the past 5 years. There are some patterns that concern me." "What kind of patterns?" "The kind that suggest systematic fraud. Nothing I can prove yet, but enough to warrant reporting to the State Insurance Commission for investigation." Long silence. "Mr. Masters, I think there might be some confusion here. Are you calling me as an insurance professional or as Lila's husband?" "Both, actually. Funny how those two roles intersect sometimes. Look, whatever's happening between you and Lila, what's happening is that my wife has been lying to me for months while carrying on an affair with a man who may or may not be committing insurance fraud. As a licensed investigator, I'm obligated to report suspicious activity. This is harassment. No, this is business. But if you'd prefer to discuss it in person, I'm free this afternoon." Another long silence. "Fine. My office, 3 o'clock. "Looking forward to it." I hung up and immediately called Janet Morrison. "How did it go with Lila yesterday?" she asked. "About as well as expected. She's moved in with Derek, which actually helps our case. Shows abandonment of the marital home." "Any settlement offers?" "Not yet, but they will. Derek's got too much to lose in a public fight." "What do you mean?" "Let's just say his business practices aren't as clean as his reputation suggests. I'm meeting with him this afternoon to discuss it. Evan, be careful. Don't do anything that could compromise the divorce case." "I'm always careful, Janet. That's why I'm good at my job." My next call was to Paul Peterson. He answered on the first ring, sounding exhausted. "Evan, I've been expecting your call." "How are you holding up, Paul?" "Not great. Monica and I had a long talk Sunday night. Turns out she's been covering for Lila since spring, lying to me about where she was going, who she was with. I feel like an idiot." "You're not an idiot. You trusted your wife. That's what married people are supposed to do." "Yeah, well, look how that worked out for both of us." "Paul, I need to ask you something. Are you willing to testify about Monica's involvement? About the lies she told to cover for Lila?" "You mean in court?" "Maybe, or maybe just a sworn statement. It would help establish the timeline of the affair." Paul was quiet for a moment. "Will it hurt Monica? I mean, I'm pissed at her, but I don't want to destroy her life." "That depends on Monica. If she cooperates and tells the truth, it'll be easier on everyone. If she keeps lying..." I let the implication hang. "I'll talk to her. See if I can convince her to come clean." "Thanks, Paul. I know this isn't easy." "Evan, for what it's worth, I'm sorry. About all of it. You deserved better." After lunch, I drove to Derek's office, a gleaming glass tower downtown that screamed new money and fragile ego. His receptionist, a young woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine, directed me to the top floor. Derek's office was everything I'd expected: floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive furniture, walls covered with photos of him shaking hands with politicians and celebrities. The kind of office designed to intimidate visitors and stroke the owner's ego. Derek himself was less impressive in person than I'd remembered from high school. Still handsome in that Ken doll way, but softer around the edges, with the kind of tan that came from a salon rather than honest work. He was wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people made in a month. "Evan," he said, not offering to shake hands, "I have to say, this is awkward." "Only if you make it awkward. I'm here on business." "Right. The insurance thing. What exactly are you alleging?" I opened my briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "Over the past 5 years, you've filed 17 different claims across your various properties. Fire damage, water damage, theft, vandalism, total payouts of just over $2 million. So, I own a lot of properties. Shit happens. Shit happens, yes. But it happens to your properties at a statistically impossible rate, and always just before major renovations or sales. Derek's jaw tightened. Are you accusing me of arson? I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm simply noting patterns that warrant investigation. This is bullshit, and you know it. You're fishing because you're pissed about Lila. I leaned back in my chair. Let's talk about Lila. How long have you been fucking my wife? Jesus Christ, Evan. You can't just... 4 months? 6 months? Since the reunion committee meeting in March? Derek stood up and walked to his window, looking out at the town below. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? We ran into each other at the coffee shop, started talking. She seemed unhappy. So you decided to fix that by destroying her marriage? He turned around, and for the first time, I saw something other than arrogance in his eyes. Guilt, maybe, or fear. Look, I know how this looks, but Lila and I have history. We were supposed to be together 25 years ago before life got in the way. Life didn't get in the way. You got bored and dumped her for someone else, just like you'll get bored and dump her again. That's not... Where's your wife, Derek? The socialite from Boston? Does she know about your history with married women? His face went pale. Leave Sarah out of this. Sarah, pretty name. Does Sarah know you're planning to divorce her for your high school girlfriend? Or are you planning to keep Lila as a side piece? You son of a bitch. I'm not the one breaking up 2 marriages for a midlife crisis fantasy. Derek sat back down, suddenly looking older. What do you want? I want you to end it with Lila. I want you to tell her it was a mistake. I want you to disappear from her life so she can come crawling back to me, begging for forgiveness. And then I tell her to go fuck herself. Because this isn't about getting her back, Derek. This is about making sure she loses everything. You're vindictive. I'm thorough. There's a difference. I stood up and gathered my papers. You've got 48 hours to decide how you want to play this. End it with Lila and deal with your marriage problems privately, or keep playing house with her and see how much damage I can do to your business, your reputation, and your bank account. You can't prove insurance fraud. Maybe not, but I can sure as hell make your life miserable while I try. Investigations, audits, media attention. You know how these things go. Even if you're cleared eventually, the damage is done. I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Derek, when you dump Lila, and you will dump her, because guys like you always do, make sure she knows it's because of me. I want her to understand exactly what her affair cost her. You're a real bastard, Evan. I'm a bastard who pays his bills, honors his commitments, and doesn't fuck other people's wives. But sure, I'm the villain here. I left Derek's office feeling better than I had in months. The look in his eyes told me everything I needed to know. He was going to fold. Men like Derek were bullies who crumbled the moment someone fought back. My phone buzzed with a text from Lila. We need to talk. This has gone far enough. I typed back. Nothing to talk about. You made your choice. Please, Evan. I know I hurt you, but destroying my life won't fix anything. Won't fix anything for you, maybe, but it's working wonders for my self-respect. I didn't wait for her response. I had more calls to make, more pressure to apply, because Derek was just the beginning. Before I was done, everyone who'd helped Lila betray me was going to pay a price, starting with Monica Peterson. Wednesday morning brought the first crack in Lila's support system. Monica Peterson called my office at 9:23 a.m., her voice shaky and desperate. Evan, we need to talk. Do we? Because last I checked, you were helping my wife lie to me. I know how it looks, but I was just trying to be a good friend. I never meant for things to go this far. Things went this far the moment you decided to become an accomplice to adultery. What do you want, Monica? Paul's threatening to leave me. He says he can't trust me anymore, and honestly, I don't blame him. But if this gets out publicly, it'll destroy both our reputations. Should have thought of that before you started playing wing woman to a cheater. Please, Evan. I'll do whatever you want. I'll testify, I'll sign statements, I'll tell everyone the truth. Just don't drag Paul and me down with Lila and Derek. I leaned back in my office chair, savoring the desperation in her voice. Monica had always looked down on me, treating me like Lila's boring husband who wasn't worth her attention. Now she was begging for mercy. What exactly are you offering? Everything. Dates, times, conversations. I know about the hotel meetings, the fake work trips, the whole timeline. I'll give you everything if you keep Paul and me out of the public mess. Interesting. And what does Lila think about you turning state's evidence? She doesn't know I'm calling, and I'd prefer to keep it that way until I have to testify. Smart. Email me everything you have by noon today. Phone records, text screenshots, anything that proves the timeline of the affair. And you'll protect Paul and me? I'll do my best. But Monica, if I find out you're holding anything back, if you try to play games with me, I'll make sure everyone in town knows exactly what kind of friend you really are. She hung up without another word. At 11:47 a.m., my email chimed with a message from Monica containing enough evidence to bury Lila in any divorce court. Hotel receipts she'd helped arrange, text messages about cover stories, even photos from their girls' nights that were actually just Monica providing alibis while Lila met Derek. I forwarded everything to Janet Morrison with a note. Christmas came early. My phone rang immediately. Evan, this is incredible. With Monica's testimony and evidence, Lila won't have a leg to stand on. We can push for everything. The house, the cars, even spousal support. What about her retirement account? Community property. Half of it's yours anyway. But with adultery proven and abandonment of the marital home, we might be able to argue for more. Do it. I want her to understand that actions have consequences. There's something else. Derek Quimby's lawyer called this morning. They want to discuss a settlement. Already? That was fast. Apparently your meeting yesterday made an impression. They're offering to cover Lila's legal fees and provide her with enough money to relocate out of state. In exchange for? You dropping any insurance fraud investigations and keeping the affair out of the local media. I laughed. Tell them no deal. Derek doesn't get to buy his way out of this. Evan, it's a substantial offer. Enough to set you up very comfortably. I don't want comfortable, Janet. I want justice. That afternoon, I drove to the Anchor's End for lunch and information gathering. Maddie was behind the bar as always, polishing glasses and collecting gossip. Well, if it isn't Millbrook's most eligible bachelor, she said with a grin. How are you holding up? Better every day. What's the word on the street? Oh, honey, you're the only thing anyone's talking about. Half the town's taking your side, the other half thinks you're being too harsh. And what do you think? I think a woman who cheats on a good man deserves whatever she gets. Your wife's been coming in here for months, flirting with anything in pants, acting like she was single. We all saw it coming. Anyone else see it coming? Derek's wife, for one. Sarah Quimby was in here Monday night, drinking alone, looking like someone had run over her dog. Word is she's filing for divorce, too. This was news. Really? Apparently, she hired a private investigator months ago. Been gathering evidence of Derek's affairs, plural. Your wife wasn't his first rodeo. Interesting. Is Sarah still in town? Far as I know. Staying at the Harbor Inn while her lawyer sorts things out. I finished my sandwich and left Maddie a generous tip. Thanks for the information. Anytime, hun. And Evan, give 'em hell. The Harbor Inn was Millbrook's only upscale hotel, a restored Victorian mansion overlooking the harbor. I found Sarah Quimby in the bar, nursing a martini and staring out at the water. Sarah was everything Lila aspired to be, genuinely elegant, effortlessly sophisticated, with the kind of quiet confidence that came from real breeding rather than social climbing. She looked up as I approached, and I saw recognition in her eyes. Mr. Masters, isn't it? I remember you from the reunion committee meeting. Mrs. Quimby, I'm sorry to bother you, but I thought we might have some things to discuss. She gestured to the empty chair across from her. I imagine we do. Though I have to say, I'm surprised it took you this long to figure out what your wife was up to. How long have you known? About Lila specifically? Since June? About Derek's pattern of cheating? Since about 6 months into our marriage? Then why stay? Sarah smiled sadly. Money, mostly, and the hope that he'd eventually grow up. Stupid, I know, but I loved the man I thought he was. What changed? I hired a private investigator to document everything for the divorce. When I saw the photos of Derek and Lila together, saw how happy he looked with her, I realized he was never going to change. He was just going to keep trading up until he found whatever he thought he was looking for. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm actually grateful to your wife in a strange way. She finally gave me the push I needed to end a marriage that should have ended years ago. I ordered a whiskey and studied Sarah's face. Can I ask you something? Do you think Derek actually cares about Lila, or is she just another conquest? Honestly? I think he's convinced himself he loves her because she represents his lost youth. But Derek doesn't love anyone except himself. Once the novelty wears off, once she stops making him feel like the high school football hero, he'll get bored and move on. How long do you think that'll take? With Derek? 6 months, maybe less, especially if the affair stops being secret and exciting and becomes public and messy. What if it becomes very public and very messy? Sarah raised her martini in a mock toast. Then I'd say your wife is about to learn a very expensive lesson about the difference between fantasy and reality. We talked for another hour, sharing war stories and comparing notes. By the time I left, we'd exchanged phone numbers and agreed to coordinate our respective divorce proceedings. That evening, I was home reviewing Monica's evidence when my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Lila standing on my front porch looking haggard and desperate. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. What do you want? To talk, to explain, to try to fix this. Nothing to fix. You broke it beyond repair. Evan, please. I know I made mistakes, but we can work through this. 15 years of marriage has to count for something. It counted for something, right up until you decided to throw it away for a midlife crisis fantasy. It's not a fantasy. Derek and I have a real connection. Do you? Because I just had drinks with his wife. Apparently, you're not his first affair, or his second, or his third. Lila's face went white. That's not true. Sarah Quimby has photos, hotel receipts, phone records. Your boyfriend has been cheating on her for years with a string of married women. You're just the latest in a long line of conquests. You're lying. Am I? Why don't you ask Derek about it? Ask him about the redhead from Portland last year, or the blonde from Bangor the year before that. Ask him how many other wives he's seduced with the same lines he used on you. Tears started flowing down her cheeks. Even if that's true, it doesn't change how I feel about him. The next morning dawned cold and clear, the kind of winter light that cuts through windows like judgment. I woke early, made coffee black and strong, and sat at the kitchen table reviewing the folder Frankie had compiled over the past 3 months. Bank statements showing transfers to an account in Derek's name, hotel receipts from weekends I'd spent on job sites, screenshots of texts she'd deleted but never fully erased, recovered by the forensic tech Frankie knew from his PI days. Photos of them together at a bar downtown, her hand on his arm, laughing the way she used to laugh with me. No smoking gun of violence or fraud, just the slow, grinding betrayal that had hollowed out our marriage, enough to make her story crumble when the light hit it right. Frankie arrived at 9, carrying 2 paper cups from the corner deli and a USB drive. He looked like he hadn't slept either. Same black hoodie, same restless energy. "Coffee's on me," he said, sliding a cup across the table. "You look like shit." "Feel like it." I opened my laptop and plugged in the drive. "You get the rest?" "Everything. Social media timestamps, geolocation pings, even the playlist she made for their getaway weekend. She titled it New Beginnings. Poetic. I scanned the new files. One folder labeled Derek's Side contained his own posts, subtle at first, then bolder. A photo of a woman's silhouette against a sunset, captioned, Worth Every Risk. Another, a close-up of intertwined hands, no faces, but the ring on her finger was unmistakable. Mine had been there once. Frankie leaned against the counter. Phase 2, controlled burn. We don't go nuclear yet. We start with the people who matter. I nodded. Her parents first, then mutual friends, then the office. We drafted the email together. Subject line, the truth about what happened. No rage, no caps lock accusations. Just facts, dates, receipts attached in neat PDFs. A single paragraph at the end. I'm not asking anyone to take sides. I'm asking you to see what I saw. If you want to reach out, I'll listen. If not, I understand. We sent it to 12 people. Her mother, her sister, our old college friends who'd drifted but still commented on her vacation photos, the 3 colleagues she still texted daily, BCC to me and Frankie for the paper trail. Within an hour, the replies started. Her sister, "What the hell is this? Call me." Her mother, "I don't understand. She said you were the one who pulled away." A mutual friend, Tom, who'd been at our wedding, "Jesus, man, I'm sorry, didn't know." Silence from the rest. That was louder. By noon, my phone rang. Elena. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was shaky. "We need to talk. Please, this is cruel." I texted back, "You had months to talk. You chose silence. Now you get mine." Frankie watched me type. "You sure you don't want to answer? Hear her out?" I heard her out for 7 years. I'm done listening. We moved to the living room. Frankie opened his laptop and pulled up the burner account he'd created. An anonymous page titled, The Other Side of the Story. No names at first, just blurred photos, redacted receipts, a timeline in bullet points. The caption read, "Sometimes the person who leaves is the one who was never really there." We uploaded the first batch, no doxing, no threats, just documents and a quiet invitation. Truth doesn't need volume, it just needs light. Within minutes, the page had 30 views, then 50. Shares started trickling in from burner accounts Frankie had seeded in local divorce and infidelity support groups. People love a counter-narrative. They love it more when it's calm. Elena's next call came at 2:17 p.m. I answered this time. "Jack, please take it down. My mother is hysterical. My sister won't speak to me. This is destroying my life." "Your life," I repeated. "Funny how that works. I never wanted to hurt you. You already did. This isn't revenge. This is clarity." She started crying. "Derek's leaving me. He says it's too much drama." I almost laughed. He's right. Drama follows choices. Silence stretched. Then small. "I'm sorry. Too late for sorry, but not too late to live with it." I hung up. Frankie raised his cup in a mock toast. Phase 2 complete. Phase 3? I looked out the window. Snow had started falling again, soft and relentless. We wait. Let the ripples do the work. Then we rebuild. That night, I sat alone in the house that used to feel too big, too empty. I poured another drink, stared at the empty side of the bed, and for the first time in months, the silence didn't hurt. It just was. I opened my laptop one last time and typed a single line in a new document titled, Moving Forward. Day 1. I stopped waiting for her to come back. Then I closed the lid, turned off the lights, and slept through the night for the first time in years. The next morning, the burner page had 1,200 views. Comments were split, some vicious, some thoughtful, a few from people who'd been through the same thing. One read, "Thank you. I needed to see this. I'm not crazy." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Frankie texted at 8 a.m. "Your ex's mother just called me, wants to apologize to you in person." I typed back, "Tell her I'm busy, but she can leave a message." I poured coffee, watched the snow keep falling, and felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the beginning of something lighter. Something mine. Thursday morning, I woke up with the kind of clarity that comes from having nothing left to lose. Lila had made her choice, Derek had shown his true colors, and now it was time to let the whole town see exactly what kind of people they really were. My first stop was the Millbrook Gazette, our local newspaper. The editor, Tom Bradley, had been a friend of my father's and had always been fair in his coverage of local business. "Evan, I heard about the divorce. I'm sorry, son." "Thanks, Tom. Actually, that's why I'm here. I want to buy a full-page ad." "What kind of ad?" I handed him a typed page. "Public notice. I want everyone in town to know exactly why my marriage ended." Tom read it, his eyebrows rising with each line. "Jesus, Evan, this is pretty harsh. You sure you want to put this in print?" I've never been more sure of anything. The ad was simple and devastating. Notice to the community. After 15 years of marriage, I have filed for divorce from my wife, Lila Masters, due to her ongoing affair with Derek Quimby. I want to thank those friends and neighbors who tried to warn me and to apologize to Derek's wife, Sarah, for the pain this affair has caused her family. I also want to publicly acknowledge Monica Peterson's role in helping to conceal this affair through lies and false alibis. The truth always comes out eventually. Evan Masters. "This'll be the talk of the town," Tom said. "That's the point. It'll run in tomorrow's edition." My next stop was Derek's office. This time, I didn't make an appointment. His receptionist tried to stop me, but I walked past her and straight into his office. Derek was on the phone, but he hung up immediately when he saw my face. "What the hell are you doing here?" "Delivering a message. Check tomorrow's Gazette." "What are you talking about?" I dropped a copy of the ad on his desk. He read it, his face going from confusion to anger to panic. "You can't publish this. It's libel." "It's truth, and I have documentation to prove every word." "This will destroy my business. Should have thought of that before you started fucking married women." Derek stood up, his hands shaking. "I'll sue you for everything you're worth." "With what money?" "Because Sarah's divorce is going to cost you plenty, and now that everyone knows about your pattern of affairs, how many clients do you think you'll have left?" "Pattern of affairs? Oh, didn't Lila mention? I had drinks with your wife yesterday. Lovely woman. She told me all about your previous conquests. Apparently, seducing married women is your hobby." Derek sank back into his chair. "Sarah doesn't know about the others." "She knows about all of them. Photos, hotel receipts, the works. Your wife's been building a case against you for months." "This is insane. You're destroying 4 lives over a simple affair." "Simple affair? You systematically seduced my wife, convinced her to lie to me for months, and were planning to break up 2 marriages for your own gratification? There's nothing simple about that." My phone buzzed with a text from Lila. "Derek told me what you're planning. You can't do this." I showed Derek the message. "Looks like you two are still in communication." "How sweet." "Evan, please, I'll end it with Lila. I'll disappear from her life. Just don't publish that ad." "Too late. It's already at the printer." Derek's face crumpled. "You don't understand. This will ruin me, my business, my reputation, everything I've built." "Good. Maybe the next time you're tempted to destroy someone else's marriage, you'll remember what it cost you." I left Derek's office and drove to the construction site where Frankie was working. He saw me coming and walked over, wiping his hands on a rag. "How'd it go with Pretty Boy?" He's starting to understand the consequences of his actions. "And the wife?" She's about to learn that Derek isn't the man she thought he was. My phone rang. Lila, calling from Derek's number. "Evan, you have to stop this. Derek's talking about leaving town, abandoning his business. If you publish that ad, you'll destroy both of us." "That's the idea. This isn't just about me anymore. You're hurting innocent people. Derek's employees, his clients. Derek should have thought about that before he decided to be a homewrecker. Please, I'm begging you. I'll sign whatever divorce papers you want. I'll give you everything. Just don't do this. You don't have anything left to give me, Lila. You already gave away the only thing that mattered, our marriage. I made a mistake. I know that now. But destroying my life won't bring back what we had. You're right. Nothing will bring that back. But watching you face the consequences of your choices, that's going to have to be enough. I hung up and turned to Frankie. Want to grab a beer? I have a feeling tomorrow's going to be interesting. Friday morning, the Millbrook Gazette hit the stands at 6 a.m. By 6:30, my phone was ringing nonstop. Friends, neighbors, clients, everyone wanted to know if the ad was true, if I was really divorcing Lila, if Derek Quimby was actually having an affair with my wife. I let them all go to voicemail. At 8 a.m., I drove to the Anchor's End for coffee and to gauge the town's reaction. The place was packed, everyone talking about the ad, about the affair, about Derek and Lila. Maddie saw me come in and immediately poured me a coffee. Well, you certainly know how to make an entrance. That ad's got the whole town buzzing. Good or bad buzzing? Mostly good, at least for you. People are saying it's about time someone called out Derek Quimby for his bullshit. And most folks think Lila got what she deserved. What about Monica? Oh, she's in deep shit. Paul kicked her out last night. She's staying at her sister's, crying to anyone who'll listen about how she was just trying to be a good friend. At 9:15, my phone rang. Janet Morrison. Evan, Derek's lawyer just called. They want to settle immediately. Full terms, no negotiation. What are they offering? Everything you asked for. The house, the cars, Lila's retirement account. Plus Derek's covering all legal fees and giving Lila enough money to relocate out of state. And in exchange? You stop the insurance fraud investigation and don't pursue any further public humiliation. Tell them it's too late for that. The ad's already published, and the insurance commission is already investigating. Are they really? They will be by noon today. At 10:30, Sarah Quimby called. Evan, I just wanted to thank you. That ad gave me the courage to file my own public statement about Derek's affairs. My lawyer's releasing it to the Portland paper this afternoon. How are you holding up? Better than expected. It's liberating, actually, not having to keep his secrets anymore. What's your next move? I'm taking Derek for everything he's worth, then moving back to Boston. I have family there, a life I gave up when I married him. Good for you. What about you? Any regrets about going public? I looked around the Anchor's End, at the neighbors and friends who were nodding supportively at me, at the life I'd built in this town over 4 decades. None whatsoever. At 11:45, Lila called one last time. Derek's leaving, she said, her voice hollow. He's closing his business, selling his properties, moving to Florida. He says the scandal will ruin him here. Smart man, little late but smart. He doesn't want me to come with him. I'm not surprised. He said I was too much trouble, that he never meant for things to get this serious. Sounds about right. I have nowhere to go, Evan. No job, no friends, no money. You've destroyed my entire life. No, Lila, you destroyed your own life. I just made sure everyone could see it. What am I supposed to do now? I don't know, and I don't care. That's not my problem anymore. After 15 years, that's all you have to say to me? I thought about it for a moment. 15 years of marriage, of shared dreams and quiet moments, and building a life together. 15 years that she'd thrown away for a fantasy that lasted less than 6 months. Yeah, I said finally. That's all I have to say. I hung up and turned off my phone. By evening, the story had spread beyond Millbrook. The Portland paper picked up Sarah's statement about Derek's pattern of affairs. Social media was buzzing with gossip about the scandal. Derek's business website was down, his office closed, his properties suddenly on the market at fire sale prices. Lila had disappeared, probably driven out of town by the shame and the gossip. Monica was persona non grata, her marriage over, her reputation destroyed. Derek was fleeing to Florida with whatever assets he could salvage from his ruined business. And me? I was sitting in my house now, drinking a beer and watching the sunset through windows that no longer held any lies. My phone, turned back on, buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You got what you wanted. I hope it was worth it. L. I deleted the message without responding. Frankie knocked on my door at 8 p.m., carrying a six-pack and a grin. So, how does it feel to be the most talked-about man in Millbrook? Pretty fucking good, actually. Any regrets? I thought about Lila, probably driving through the night toward whatever new life she could cobble together from the wreckage of her choices. I thought about Derek packing his bags and running from the consequences of his actions. I thought about the 15 years of marriage that had ended not with counseling or compromise, but with public humiliation and total victory. None, I said. Not a single one. We sat on my front porch, drinking beer and watching the town settle into evening quiet. Tomorrow there would be new gossip, new scandals, new drama. But tonight, justice had been served, and it tasted exactly as sweet as I'd imagined. Lila had wanted excitement, had wanted passion, had wanted to feel alive again. Well, she'd gotten all of that and more. She'd gotten the full consequences of betraying a man who loved her, who trusted her, who would have done anything for her. She'd wanted to leave me for her high school fantasy. Instead, she'd lost everything. Her husband, her lover, her home, her friends, her reputation, her future. The weekend was over, and so was her happy ending.